it's Flo, and this is my impression of a traveling lounge singer.
And we're going up the airport escalator. Hey, where you from? No response. Classic. Got in an accident, so you gotta take a cab, huh? No cabs at Progressive service centers. They got rental cars on site, which is out of sight, you know?
Progressive takes the hassle out of claims. Just drop your car off at one of our service centers and we'll manage the rest.
Here's a little number I like to call Waiting for the Shuttle Bus.
Progressive Casualty Insurance Company. Service centers not available in all areas. You have a choice of repair facilities.
Good evening, America. It is Tuesday, November the 15th, 2015, and it's time for news and commentary with a dose of conservative common sense. And good evening, everyone. Once again, welcome to tonight's show. And getting a little rough start here. We actually forgot to start the broadcast on the network. So I do apologize for that. I do not know what I was thinking. Well, I do know what I was thinking. I was having such a fascinating conversation with Glenn before the start of the show. I completely lost track of time and completely lost track of everything that was happening. My producer and I were both looking at each other, shaking our heads, going, we have forgotten to do something. And that was actually start the show on the network. So, folks, I do apologize if you were tuning into the show and hearing absolutely nothing. I think I may have been talking to myself for the first 5 or 10 seconds there. Well, once again, you are listening to News and Commentary on the High Plains Radio Network at highplainsdailynews.com. You can also hear the show on shrmedia.com. Of course, the SHR Media website continues to be down. Sean Lewis assures me that he's working on getting that site back up just as soon as possible. If you would like to join in the chat room, we do have the chat room for the radio show. Excuse me. If you go to the radio show page at highplainsdailynews.com, just click on the High Plains Talk Radio Network tab. You'll see on the right-hand side on the sidebar, right underneath the player where you're hearing my beautiful voice right now, you will see the chat room. Just click on that. It'll automatically put you into the chat room, and you'll also be able to listen to the show. Everything is there, nice and neat and simple. So once again, folks, I do apologize to the rough start to tonight's show. Folks, we're going to have just an absolutely amazing show tonight. Here in just a minute, we're going to bring my new co-host onto the show, Glenn Atkinson. Glenn has an absolutely fascinating story that he's going to share with us. To simply put it, Glenn Atkinson was trying to immigrate to the United States from Canada. Glenn was trying to come to the country legally. Now, let me stress that, folks. Glenn was coming to the country legally. And how was he rewarded for his efforts trying to do everything the legal way? Yes, folks, Glenn was actually arrested. He spent 90-plus days in jail here in the state of Texas when he was arrested by the federal government. And so here in just a minute, we're going to get into that with Glenn. And as the technical difficulties continue tonight, I lost my studio, but I have it back up, which means I can actually bring Glenn onto the air. Oh, Glenn, I hope you're still there. I'm having an absolutely rough time starting the show tonight. Oh, hold on, everybody. I have to do this. My beautiful wife just walked in the door. She's been away all day since early this morning at work, and so we're going to have Jane say hi. Say hi to about 30,000 listeners right now.
Hello.
Hello. She just came in from work, so I have to give her a kiss. Hold on just a second. Mwah. All right. So we got that formality out of the way. Oh, sweetie, dinner's in the oven. It'll be ready about 8 o'clock if you'd pull it out for me. It's lasagna. So anyway, folks, that's the way this show goes. Just to kind of let Glenn know what's going on. What happens a lot of times with my show, my family, my kids are often a part of the show. I have 5 kids, and sometimes they come wandering in, and we have conversations. And so, once again, I hadn't seen my wife all day, so we had to take care of that business. That is the most important detail of the evening to get out of the way. Well, Glenn, I think we're finally ready to get underway, buddy.
Well, Dan, it's great. It's great to hear you, talk, about your beautiful wife, and it's always, like you say, it's very, very important. And and my beautiful wife Lisa too. We have to acknowledge them all the time because they're a major part of us, and it's a blessing. It's an amazing blessing. So it's great to hear you talk about them.
And Glenn, we'll talk about you and your wife here in a little bit because I know she is a big part of your life, after the initial things that happened to you. You met and married your wife, and now she continues this struggle alongside you. And this is something that you're continuing to battle. This is something that's not over yet, and something you're still trying to get settled as you try to become an actual legal citizen in the United States of America. And you're trying to do everything you possibly can the right way. But it seems like one roadblock after another keeps getting thrown in your way. And Glenn, I've long said that our immigration system here in our country is broken. Now, let me explain what I mean by broken. Yes, we do need to make some tweaks to it. We need to make some changes to our immigration laws. But the first thing we need to address is to enforce the laws on the book. But there's also another key element. Enforce those laws properly the way they were originally intended. Now, with that, Glenn, I'm going to turn it over to you. And ladies and gentlemen, you're fixing to be completely blown away by Glenn's story. And and once he gets into this story, it's something that you're going to say, "What? This happened in our country?" No, that's the kind of nonsense that happens in third world countries. That's the kind of stuff that happens in Cuba, in Iraq, in Iran. No, this happened here in our very own country. And Glenn, just to let you know, we already have callers lining up wanting to talk with their hands up. Let me take this first caller real quick because I think I have a good idea who this is, and then we'll get into your story, okay?
Certainly. Mm-hmm.
Area code 701. You're on with Dan Butcher and Glenn Atkinson on News and Commentary. What is your question or comment?
Well, I just thought I'd call. I know Glenn really well. We're good friends. This is Gary Rumor. So.
Oh, hey.
Hey, Gary.
How you doing, Glenn?
Hey, doing well, very blessed, thank you.
You bet. But anyway, I've talked to Glenn many times in many shows, and we've called each other personally, and we've become really good friends over the last 10, 12 months,
Yeah.
And anyway, I'm in total support of him here, and I'm doing what I can. I want to see him become a U.S. citizen. I told Glenn this is the last thing I ever do in my life. I want to see him become a U.S. citizen, So, but anyway, I just want to listen to a story here, and this is probably the only way I can listen, anyways, on the phone because I can't get the podcast to load up. So,
well, if you'll go straight to, well, the reason the podcast wouldn't load up is because the reason the show wouldn't load up is because I was late starting the show tonight. Glenn and I were having such a great conversation off the air, we forgot to start the show. so once again,
that happens.
once again, all of our phone lines, which is very common with this show, every single phone line is now occupied, and our phone lines are full. The questions are already lighting up. And just to let folks know, if we have the opportunity to get to questions tonight, get to callers tonight, we certainly will. If we do want to call in, the phone number is area code 516-666-9908. And this is a rare thing that I would actually ask some of my listeners to do tonight. If you are listening by phone and you can listen and go to the website, if you'll go to highplainsdailynews.com, up at the top of the page, click on the High Plains Talk Radio tab. That'll take you to the radio show page. It'll automatically start playing. You can get to the chat room there, etc. Or you can just go to highplainsdailynews.com, scroll down a little bit on the right-hand side. You can start up the player too there while you read all the great articles on the website. So that might free up a few lines for some of the folks that would like to have a question. But we're definitely got a great show tonight. Glenn, buddy, let's get into your story, man. I'm going to turn it over to you, just let you tell your story, and if I have any questions along the way while you're initially telling your story, I'll jump in and ask the questions, man. Okay, great. Well, I can start off by letting people know that I first came here July of 2006, so we're 9.5 years into this right now, and but what I'll do is because there's so much involved with my situation, an hour or 2 hours wouldn't even get to a lot, But what I'll do is I'll jump in the middle of it, say in 2010, when I had some more stuff happen to me, and with being detained and whatnot, and a lot of people may not realize, but I was detained in a detention center, not just once but twice, and at the borders, and it's just so much involved. So what I'll do is I'll get to the one where I was detained the second time for the one you mentioned, the 90 days. It was exactly 90 days actually, but it's just to kind of shorten it a little bit because it's just so much involved. And if there's any questions pertaining to anything, of course I'll answer. And just to let people know, everything I say, I have documents, by government documents. I have my FOIA. I have my court audio to back everything up. I welcome anyone to dispute it or debate it or whatever. I have everything here to present to anyone, and I have to lawyers, and they've had their heads spin with this too. So so what I'm about to tell you, it may sound like it's like out of this world, and believe me, I lived it, and I sometimes pinch myself and wonder how I got through it. But it was with God. So that leads me to, March 10th of 2010. If you could just imagine, folks, waking up to this. Here I am laying in bed, and all of a sudden I hear a bang, bang, bang at the door. And I'm waking up, and it's like the door that they're banging on is literally about, maybe 10 feet away from me. Okay, because I was living in a with my friends, staying with my friends in Corpus Christi, actually, Texas, at the time, and I was in a kind of like a makeshift bedroom in the living room. So there was the one door that was there. Anyhow, so I woke up to this big, loud bang, bang, bang. And I couldn't, I'm pretty quick on my feet when I'm woken up and whatever. It's pretty alert. But I was like, what the heck's going on here? So my friend, that I was staying with, him and his wife, he come flying out, and he's got his pants in his hand, and he goes to the door, and all of a sudden he says hello, and they said, U.S. Marshals, open up. And he's like, okay. And, of course, about 3 seconds went by. He was trying to put his pants on. I could see him because where it was, it was kind of like part of the kitchen. So, anyways, where he was. So, anyways, they said, open up now. And they yelled it. And, of course, he says, I'm trying to put my pants on. So he gets out there. He opens the door, and he goes outside. And, of course, I don't see nothing. All of a sudden, he's out there, and the door is shut behind him.
And the next thing I know, within about 20 seconds, I have U.S. Marshals, I mean, all over the place inside. Like, I don't know how many, I couldn't really count how many was running by me and around and everything like this or whatever, but they had their guns out and whatever like this or whatever, but, which is normal, I guess, for what they were there to do, I guess, but I wasn't sure. I was feeling like I was in a nightmare. So anyways, I later found out that they had showed my friend a picture of someone, and they had a warrant for someone, but it wasn't me. And so anyways, I was just sitting there, laying there in my bed, and I'm like, this is crazy. So, like, they're running all over the place. So anyways, it kind of calmed down, and, I guess they didn't find who they were looking for, and they looked at me, the one guy, and a whole bunch of them were around him, and he says, who are you? And I said, Glenn Atkinson. He goes, let me see your ID. Let me see your ID, like this, right? I said, sure. And I, of course, had my slate pants on, because it was in the morning, folks. Like, it wasn't like, 1 in the afternoon or anything. But anyways, I reached over to my pants, took out my, I had a Ziploc bag, and inside the Ziploc bag, I had my passport and all the stuff chronologically in order of my documents. I know most people don't do that, but get to know me. I'm pretty meticulous when it comes to stuff, and I wanted to protect my passport and everything in a baggie in case it got wet or something. So I always have it in my front right pocket. Took it out, took everything out, and I showed them, my passport, and I told them everything was in chronological order. Anyways, they took about maybe, I don't know, it wasn't like a few seconds, and the guy was saying, oh, you're illegal. And I said, no, I'm not. I said, and I was being just as calm as I am now. I said, no, I'm not. I said, everything's in chronological order. You have to go through to see the timeline of how things were, whatever. And I said, I got my documentation in there, and it shows that I have an I-539, which is, folks, it's something you have to pay for, as usual. It's a $300 application to change your status and extend your stay. So when you're here legally, if you're here like I was, and that was I had an employer that was interested, a few of them actually, that were interested in taking me on under their job, and I was going to be the public relations director. So anyways, what happened was they accepted me, and I was extending my stay, and the gentleman that was doing this was putting in for the H-1B visa, I believe it was, and I was doing my end. On my end, I was getting my extension and my to change my status to basically to be able to stay here. So I did everything legal. You have to do this on or before the day that your visa is going to expire. And I had a B1 visa, I think it was called, a business visitors visa. So everything was on the up and up. Everything was totally fine. But these U.S. Marshals, which isn't really their jurisdiction, they're not Custom Border Patrol and they're not ICE. But they made the statement that I was illegal, and I had to point out to them, and that I'm not, and I showed them my paperwork. And anyways, this guy over here, he says, this guy over here, he used to work for ICE. And I said, well, good, then he would know. Let him look. Because I don't know how, I never have, never will. Because I'm compelled by God to be here, and so obviously there's good reason. And it hasn't been easy.
Glenn, I want to make a point real quick before you continue, because I think this is very important to make, so that the listeners understand that while this is all going on, you are here 100% legally. All of your and I want to make sure I understand this correctly. You're here 100% legally. All of your paperwork is up to date. There is no reason in the world to detain you. Obviously, they can question, that's fine, but there's no reason whatsoever to detain you, arrest you, or anything, or even really interrogate you for anything, because you're on the up and up. You are here legally.
Well, exactly, and you make a great point there, because two things I have to point out, which I'm glad you brought to the attention of the people, is first and foremost, when I was at the border to come here in 2010, when I came back here, okay, because there's crap that happened before that, and they tried to block me from even coming back. Well, I talked to a supervisor, which I have his name, I have everything, okay, and he cleared me. He said, well, I don't see any problem. There's no problem here. Everything's legal. Everything's fine. Even though people tried to stop me at the border, are you ready for this? 5 times. They tried to stop me at the border from coming back here from the original time I was here, and I had done nothing wrong. And I was even cleared the first time. So it's just, I even had a supervisor, the same supervisor 2 times had to clear me to come across because there was no reason for them to keep me in Canada because I did nothing wrong. I had everything legitimate. So I'm glad you brought that up. The second part was, gosh, I lost my train of thought. The second one was basically, folks, I had my passport stamped, and I had a stamp of the date on it, and I also had what they give you is I forget what it's called, an I-90 or something, it's whatever, I can't remember now.
Right.
I think it's an I-90. Anyways, it's stamped also with the date on it that you have to return. But if you have an application, then that kind of obviously takes precedence over, because what you're doing is you're doing everything you're supposed to do, and that is to have an application to extend your stay. And the application actually is a 2-part application. You can use it for both or one of the other. So you can have it to extend your stay, an I-539. I welcome you to look it up. And or extend your stay, you can do that. So what I had to do was I had to put a fee waiver in, so I wouldn't have to pay it twice. And I sent the letter and saying, okay, I don't think it's necessary for me to spend $300 twice on the same application, and they okayed it. So even that, and not just that, but wait till you hear this, folks. While the cops were there, the U.S. Marshals actually, while they were there, inside my paperwork, I had 2 other documents. On February 26, 2010, which was a Friday, and this is now March 10th, that's 12 days, okay? 12 days before that, I was told at that time that I could go and get my state ID, okay, because I'm legal. If you're legal, you can get your state ID. And the reason why I needed my state ID was, for what everybody else needs it for. I mean, it's just good to have up-to-date ID. I had my driver's license, my Canadian driver's license too, and I'll get to that in a little bit. But I had my Canadian driver's license. But I was told, of course, this is probably so many contradictions I've had over the years, I didn't know what to believe. I was told I could not get my Canadian driver's license changed into a Texas driver's license just because I didn't have a social security number. I later found out, which I'll get to, that I actually could have, and I'll get that later. But I had my ID, so they said I could take and get my ID at least. I said, okay, fine, I'll do that. So I had that, but I only had it in a paper form because it takes about 2 or 3 weeks to come in the mail. So anyways, I had that, plus I also had a change of address near the beginning of March. Okay, I can't remember exactly the date. It was like the 2nd or 3rd of March. So it was only like a week or so after, I believe it was. Anyway, so I had my change of address. Well, folks, I have a state ID, which means you have to be legal in order to get it. That's one. Everybody knows. Well, I should say no, wrong. You can get it illegally if you want it. But I'm saying on the up and up, the way their immigration laws are, you get it the way I did it, and you're safe, supposedly. So the second part was this change of address. Well, folks, if I was illegal, I equate this to basically like robbing a bank and getting $100,000, and then going back the next day without your ski mask on and saying, here's $50,000. I didn't need what I wrote when I robbed you yesterday. I mean, why would I do something? Why would I put in an address change if I was illegal and then send me a thing back saying, thank you very much, you did it within the 10 days, thank you very much, that's great. And if there's any questions, here's the toll-free number to call us on, and we're reviewing your everything, your documents and everything. It's for your extension and your change of status and all that stuff. So everything's pending, waiting for them. So I have everything in that chronological order, and these guys are telling me I'm illegal. So I'm not getting, I'm not getting overly like pissed off or anything. I'm just saying no. I'm just pleading very nicely with them actually. Maybe too nice. Maybe that's Canadian in me. Maybe I'm too nice. I don't know. Anyways, but I was saying no, you have to, and I was like walking them through this. So anyways, I said, look at that stamp and look at this here. And anyways, he says no. He says, see here, it says you didn't get your application. You didn't come back yet. And I said, well, because I'm waiting for them. That's what this change of address does. If you just have to read that. And so anyways, they were calling, to make a long story short, they were calling me names. They were, you wouldn't believe it. They were laughing at me, and they were this, they were that. And then the one guy, the guy that claimed he worked for ICE before, went over and he says to my laptop, and he says, I need your, or was it my laptop? I can't remember. My computer anyway. He said, can I have your, no, he didn't say can I. He said, give me your password. I need to get into your computer and see what you got in there. So I had nothing to hide, and got to keep in mind, folks, as this has been going on over the years, I'm learning more and more about this immigration and what's against my civil rights and what isn't, because, I mean, I'm from Canada. And I'm not expected to know all the laws, just like you wouldn't know all this either unless you went through it. So I wasn't being stupid. I was just trying to go along with them because I had nothing to hide. But I learned after that I don't necessarily have to, because they were violating a lot of civil rights within the first 10 minutes of them talking to me, within the first 2 minutes, actually. The very first thing they did was against my civil rights. But this one here was they wanted to get into my computer. And the guy, I'm going to give him the password, and of course the screen comes up, and he goes, of course, folks, I have I and a heart, which is I love Jesus on as my screensaver, if you will, and I got him on my phone. I got like all over, everywhere. So, anyways, the guy reads this. He goes, I love Jesus. Huh. He went, huh. I'm thinking, oh, don't be mocking Jesus. The jeepers, don't do that, because that's not good. So, anyways, he looks through the computer for a few minutes with the other guy and whatever. A whole bunch of people actually were asking me questions. And then he, while the other people were asking questions, he just said, everything's clean, he's good, like this, right? Nothing's in here, which I knew there wasn't, because I'm not a terrorist, folks. I'm from Canada, and I came here for the right reasons, and I'm still here for the right reasons: God and country and my now family. So anyhow. But all these questions were being asked to me, and there was like 3 or 4 people, I think there was, that were asking questions at the same time. Now, you can imagine, folks, I'm just waking up. This is like a nightmare, and these people are firing questions. This is all literally within a couple minutes of them talking to me. And I'm answering the questions, but what's happening here is I'm answering the questions, and they're yes and no and whatever answers, and then they're getting them all mixed up with each other's answer or questions. And I'm saying, well, just a minute, because they're saying, see, he's a liar. And I said, no. I said, you're all asking me questions at the same time, and I'm trying to answer them, but I can't put them in the right answer form for each one of you. So, so that's what they were trying to do. It was like a botched interrogation as far as I'm concerned. It was just silliness. So anyways, what happened was they come to the conclusion that I still was illegal, which was out of this world, and they called Customs Border Patrol in. Amazingly, it seemed to me, and I could be wrong, God only knows, but I think I'm pretty close to the ballpark, that Customs Border Patrol got there within like 20 minutes. Okay, and which is like, wow, that's pretty amazing. But anyways, they got here, and the guy, keep in mind, folks, I have my sleep pants on. I'm still in bed. Okay, I'm still in bed, laying there. Okay, so anyways, the guy that came in from the Customs Border Patrol, they talked for a few seconds or whatever, and he looked at my documentation, and he says, yeah, they're right, and what I'll have to do is I'll have to take you down to the Customs Border Patrol, and then we can sort out this mess down there. And I'm thinking, why? I didn't do nothing wrong. I don't get this, right? All you have to do is, and I even said to them, I said, all you have to do is go on the internet, and you can find it on there. You can find on there, or go, just whatever. It's easy to find. I mean, it's open for everybody. So, anyways, but they chose to want to take me, and of course the U.S. Marshals left, and the guy in the Customs Border Patrol, first, by the way, before the U.S. Marshals left, I asked them if I could put on my pants, because I knew they were taking me. I knew it. I just knew the way they were acting, that they didn't get their man. The guy wasn't there. This guy was 24, 25. He was Hispanic. And believe me, folks, and he's about, 5'4". I'm about 5'9", and I'm white, and I'm from Canada, and I'm telling you, I don't look Hispanic, even in a good day on the shade. At the same time it's just one of those things that I believe their adrenaline was going so high, and their arrogance overtook their egos, and they wanted to take someone in. I either that or it was set up that they did this because I'm white Christian male from Canada, and I'm conservative, and all those things they don't like. So it's just, that's what I'm guessing, and it'll come out eventually. It'll come out to what exactly the root of all this was, but it stinks. The whole thing does. So anyway, I asked them if I could take put my pants on, because I kind of felt kind of silly, with my sleep pants on. But anyways, and I knew I was going somewhere. I could just smell it. Right. So anyways, they said no. I'm going, oh my God, why? And so they said, no, you can't. So the other guy, when he came in, I asked him the same thing. He goes, no. They said no, so I said no. And I had to, now in broad daylight, I had to walk out of my house where I was with sleep pants on, and I'm telling you, it's pretty humiliating, embarrassing, because here I am. I know they're taking me away, and I'm going to be in my sleep pants. I'm going, this is just stupid. I can understand if I was a criminal and this and that, whatever, and and whatnot, and did something wrong, even though they thought I was doing something wrong. It wasn't even anything that would be where they couldn't not allow me to have my pants on, at least, okay? So anyways, there I go. They take me away, and my friends were outside, okay? My friend's wife had already went through and went outside with my friend Jesse. And they were Hispanic. They're Hispanic too, by the way, but they're born here in America, and even their family's born here, and even their grandfather's born here. So they've been here for whatever, so they had nothing to hide either. So anyways, I walked by them and I said, yeah, they're taking me to the Border Patrol. And I said, we'll get this all cleared up. And he goes, yeah, they said they were going to take you away, and then if they get it cleared up, then you'll be able to call me and I'll just pick you up. And I said, okay, thanks, Jesse, like this, right? I said, sorry about this, because I don't want anybody involved with something like this, but I didn't create it. It's just I had to, I'm just a nice person. I said, I'm sorry this happened. So anyways, he goes, oh, don't worry about it, like this, right? He goes, well, it'll be all sorted out. So anyways, I go down there and they're doing their thing, then checking, it takes forever, by the way, the processing. And so anyways, I'm asked to go in this room with the original guy that picked me up. And anyways, make a long story short, in there, what they did was they had me inside, and he wanted me to sign some things. Like, they had a bunch of sheets and anyways, of paper and whatever. And he said, well, it looks like, he said, I need you to sign this and I need you to sign that. And I said, sign them. I said, what am I signing? He says, well, I'll explain to you after you're done what exactly was going on. I said, well, and I said, well, I don't understand. I said, well, why can't you? I said, it takes. Oh, I know what it was. He said he got mad. He said, I'll explain to you after, and what exactly is going on. And he said, I said, what? And he goes, sign the effing things now. And he yelled. I mean, he really loud. And anyways, people, other custom border patrols, whatever, they come kind of like rushing towards the doorway, which is kind of like right to my right. I could see them, and I was thinking, oh my God, they're going to beat the crap out of me or something, because he raised his voice, and they're probably thinking I did something wrong, which I know I didn't, but he was trying to intimidate me. And I did feel uneasy. I don't intimidate folks. I don't get intimidated, but it was uncomfortable because these guys were coming towards me, but I was prepared. I was like thinking, oh, here we go, God, I need you, like this, right? So, anyways, when he said sign the effing things now, I said to God at that time, I said, okay, I'm going to sign this under protest, because I know this is all going to come out later, and this is going to be part of my case again. That's going to be against them. This is what I was thinking, folks, right in my head at that time. I thought, okay, I'm going to do it, because if you know the way they work, folks, I'm not much good to anyone dead. And if they can justify something and do something saying that I did something, I don't have no voice when I'm dead to fight myself. So and I thought, this is just a smaller picture of the bigger picture, what I'm here to do. I knew this even more so at that time. So I signed under a protest in my mind with God, because I knew this would come out as we are on the radio right now. So anyhow. So what happened was I signed, and then what he did when I signed, folks, he had his hand over a lot of the sheet. I couldn't see. He had it over the top, so he sign here, sign that. And to me, from what I was trying to look through his fingers at the same time, I was trying to see, and I couldn't really see a lot, but there were some things I was trying to memorize to see, in my head. And then when he was done, he fed something through the system or whatever and then he starts reading me all these things. And then when I was done, I'll get back to what I signed for. But what also hasn't happened yet is my Miranda rights. They were not given to me till after this was all said and done, which is wrong again, because they have to. I was asking for a lawyer. I was saying I would like to try and contact a lawyer and stuff like that, and they wouldn't even do that. That's another thing that's against you. You don't have to say nothing, folks. But this is what they were doing. They're bullies. This is exactly what's going on.
Now, Glenn, I want to point out something is that your Miranda rights should have been read to you before they ever took you in.
Yes, exactly.
From the first point that they officially notified you that you were detained, that is when they should have notified you of your Miranda rights. Which,
that's right.
Even people that are in the country illegally are read their Miranda rights
Exactly.
in this country. And here you are in the country legally, not read your Miranda rights. Well, Glenn, we got to take a quick break, real quick, and when we come back, we'll get back to your story. Folks, once again, you are listening to News and Commentary with Dan Butcher and my great new co-host, Glenn Atkinson, who's sharing his just fascinating story of what he has been going through trying to legally immigrate to our country from, of all places, Canada. Well, folks, we're going to be back in about 1 minute.
Times are dark. The people misled by corrupt politicians, lied to by establishment media, and deceived by the false messages of Islam. A nation in confusion needs a guide. It needs a man with a cane. I'm Dave Milner. Join me on Spreaker, SHR Media, High Plains Talk Radio, Live Rebooting Liberty, and YouTube for a unique brand of commentary on the Unpleasant Blind Guide. Because truth is not always pleasant.
Beware, the Jersey Takeover is here. Every Monday through Friday, 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, you can catch the Reverb Common Sense Show, hosted by Jersey Joe, right here on shrmedia.com and highplains.dailynews.com. Only Jersey can deliver hell like no one else, so consider this your fair warning.
Well, welcome back to News and Commentary, everyone. I had to get a couple of promos in for a couple of the great hosts on the High Plains Talk Radio Network, as well as shrmedia.com. We're proud to partner with SHR Media to bring you some of the, quite honestly, folks, it's a lineup second to none when it comes to conservative talk radio. So make sure you check out all of our great shows, as well as this one. Of course, this is the flagship show for the High Plains Talk Radio Network, and so we're very excited about everything that's coming, for the future. And once again, make sure you check out all the great shows, folks. We're back with Glenn. Glenn, I'm getting some messages going, this story is just absolutely unbelievable, but they're like, but then again, it's very believable. We can see this actually happening today with the absolute nonsense that we're seeing with our current administration, and you're living proof of that, Glenn. So, man, please continue with your absolutely fascinating story.
Well, thank you very much, and I appreciate the listeners and whatnot for their support in that too, and of course always on our radio station here. Back to just you're right about the Miranda rights. Yes, definitely. Before they take you anywhere, you're arrested, so they have to give you your rights. Well, they botched everything, like I said, and when they did get around to the Miranda rights, they got me to sign. I had to sign these Miranda rights, whatever, right? And I said, okay, yeah, that's no problem. I said, can I have a copy of that? And the guy said, no, that's just a formality, and he crumpled it up and put it in the garbage. I'm thinking, well, why'd you even get me to sign it then? I still can't wrap my head around that one, folks. But then again, there's probably at least probably about 500 or more things I can't wrap my head around this whole situation anyway. At least that's just being conservative as I am. But anyways, so it's just really ridiculous. But anyways, what I did sign, folks, was there was three things. That their options that they have when they have you in their care. They have me down for they have an X beside a box, and of course I didn't see what the X was or where it was beside it or whatever. But I did after he read them to me, and then he got me to take a look at it. Because he was reading it from his whatever, and I have mine. So I was looking at it, and yeah, they really did a major mess up with this one. The three things that they can do when you're in a situation like that, They can release you on your recognizance. That's one where they could have a check mark beside. But keeping in mind, folks, I shouldn't even be in that office, shouldn't even be taken away from my home, let alone having this stuff done. But these are the three options if you are illegal or whatever, or if there's a problem like that. And so there's release on the recognizance, and there's also pay a bond, specified bond, and of course it has a blank beside it so they can put in whatever amount. And then there's one where you can be detained, and then to be seen by a judge. Now the bond would be you get a bond and you got to go to a court at whatever date that they make available, and the bond has to be paid that day. And keeping in mind, folks, a bond is not like a 10% of whatever the bond. It's the full amount because it's a federal thing. Right. It's an immigration thing. So you don't pay it if it's a $100,000 bond. You don't pay 10%. You pay the whole thing, or if it's whatever, $300, $10,000, whatever it is. So it's the whole amount. So, anyways, so the third one is the one where they detain you, and then you go before a judge to be determined of what your case is, if it's whatever on the up and up or not. And that's the one they had me. They had me in there, as the X was beside the that one there, and which doesn't surprise me after them hiding everything. But they should have released me on my recognizance. They should have just released it knowing that, if they had checked everything out, they would have realized I was legal. Even if not at my house, they should have even there. But, the can was kicked down the road, folks, and I was that can. So what happened was I found myself on my way a few hours later after I was held in a holding cell, on my way to from Corpus Christi, where I was, to Raymondville, which is only when you're driving 2.5 hours, maybe something like that, maybe 3 hours top. So anyways, but that took me 2 days, folks. That took me 2 days to get there, because what they do is they send you to different holding cells. Well, you're kind of like a baton. So first I'm a can that's being kicked down the road, and now I'm a baton where they travel in a paddy wagon with your handcuffs and everything, and the legs and everything, and then they take you to another holding cell, and then you're held in there with could be 130 people or 140 people that are not roses. Let me tell you that they do not smell like roses, and it's awful. You get yourself, if you're lucky, you get some water that's awful, and a bologna sandwich. That's it, just bologna and bread, and that's pretty much it. And you get that, a couple of them maybe every it could be it's many hours anyway. It's awful. It's just and the people you're in these holding cells with, you're mixed in with criminals. You're mixed in with it's a whole whole bag of whatever goodies. It's just unbelievable. So anyway, I went through I think there was 3 different ones on the way down. So it took they have, and I found this out later, they have 72 hours to actually get you there from where you're at to where you're going to the actual detention center. They have by law 72 hours to get you there. I'm like, oh my God, this is just a cash grab. I don't totally understand the whole system. I'm sure. I don't know why. I know they have to wait for beds to be available, this and that, whatever. I understand that. But the thing is for 72 hours, the taxpayers are paying horrendous money for all this nonsense, let alone I shouldn't be there to begin with. So we're looking at, to house me alone is, from what I gathered, my estimations are anywhere, depending, because they have the medical and everything involved, and it's all like a per person thing, and it's anywhere from $250 a day to $500 a day. If you can imagine, folks, and there's millions of people. Okay,
Glenn,
where I was going.
Sure. Well, let me do this real quick. I want to put this. I got 2 things real quick. Number one, we're 15 minutes from the top of the hour. Folks, I have already extended the show because I want to make sure that we get all of Glenn's story in tonight. I've been working with Glenn and been promising him for about a month we were going to get this story done. And so we're going to get it done tonight because it's very important that you hear this. And so just to let everybody know on the network, I have extended the show to an hour and a half tonight. That should hopefully give us plenty of time. So Glenn has plenty of time to tell his story. I think it's very important that everybody knows this. But Glenn, I want to really put this vision in everybody's head. You are being and these are not, you're being transported and housed in county jails, okay, in the general pop, and you're being transported in one of these vans that's, which is what you usually see driving down the highway. You might have been, and you can correct me, you may have been actually put on a federal bus at some point. Most of the time they're transporting prisoners like this in vans. They're cramped. Sometimes they have air conditioning, sometimes they not. But, Glenn, you're being transported from jail to jail with little food, an innocent man that's done absolutely nothing wrong, and you're shackled. I want to put that vision in everybody's head. He is shackled. He's shackled at his feet, his hands, and he's being treated like the worst of the worst criminal element that you can imagine in our country.
Well, there is one correction, actually.
Okay.
I wasn't put in county jails. These are actually only immigration holding cells. They're like,
okay.
and that's
okay.
They're actually immigration. Just to give everybody an understanding that even still, these are people that they're picking up for whatever reason. They haven't been tried yet by a court. Okay,
right.
So they're being in different situations. Like they could have just swum over here. They could be people that have been here for 10 years and have been criminals. Like who knows? You don't know because they haven't been processed yet for immigration, but there is some of them that had crimes done here and whatnot too, and you don't know. Some of these people could have done crimes that haven't been caught yet. They could be murderers. I have no idea because I've not done nothing wrong, and I'm in amongst them, so they don't know. Even looking at me, they don't even know if I'm a criminal or not. So you can just imagine what's going on through people's heads. But it is vans, by the way. It is it's like it is Custom Border Patrol type vans. They're like the green and white ones. They are. So it's all immigration related. It's not anything to do with of course that's federal still. It's just a different, obviously, Homeland Security and Custom Border Patrol and ICE. They're all all together since the 911. So it's all immigration related only. Other than the U.S. Marshals, they were the original ones that did this. But other than that, it is just all immigration. So just to clarify that a little bit so people understand. But it's still the same boat because I don't know who I'm being detained with.
Right.
Neither do they, for the most part. They got their record of finding somebody, maybe they're illegal for whatever reason, but they botched mine. So who in the heck knows what they botched for these people? Which I later found out there has been a lot. So I did get to finally. I finally got to the detention center, and so what happened was, this processing goes on in that place or whatever to get me in there, and while I was in there, I want to get into what I was in there, too. It's believe me, it's no Holiday Inn, folks. Let me tell you, I'm one of the very few English speaking ones in there. Now, mind you, the officers and whatnot that are in there, they're not ICE officers. They are ICE officers that are in there, but ICE has basically kind of like they kind of have another what is it like a oh gosh, what are they? They're like a security team, a unionized security team that they hire to do most of the work within the actual one-on-one with the people that like myself. But ICE is the one in control, and they're the ones that run the building. So, anyways, but they're still there. Of course, they're there. It's just that they don't only if there's any kind of situational problems or whatever they get involved more. So, anyways, I'm taken in whatever, and then within a few days or whatever, I get a court order, my to go to court or whatever while I'm in there. And so I went, and that was within the right time frame, that they have to give you, which is I think 10 days. I think it's what it is, 10 days or 20 days. I can't remember now. Anyways, I don't have my notes in front of me for that. But anyways, not as important. But anyways, so I did go to court, and what happened was the judge, they seen me, and actually what happened before was I was talking to a lawyer that they have there. And a lawyer can't work for you. He can only give you some kind of, a little bit of pep talk, just to let you know what exactly your rights are and whatever have. Well, this one lawyer, his name's Bill. He looked at me and amongst all these people, and he said, "You're from Canada, right?" And I said, "Yeah." He goes, "What are you doing here?" I said, "That's a good question." And I said, he said, can I see your paperwork? Because he that's what he does. He takes a look at everybody's and checks them out. Anyways, he sat down. If you can get a visual, folks, at a desk in this room with a whole bunch. There's about 40 or 50 of us. He was giving us a slide projector of what our rights was and what we can expect through courts and blah blah blah. Well, he brought me up to the front, and he looks at my paperwork as he's standing, and he's shaking his head and he's looking at this, and he sits down. And if you can imagine, he sits down in his chair, he puts his elbow on the table and his hand on his forehead, looking down at my paperwork, and he shakes his head and he looks up at the ceiling and he goes, what did he say? He says, and it's cases like these that make me embarrassed to be a U.S. citizen. That's an exact quote. And he said, this is crazy. He says, you're not supposed to be here. I said, thank you. I said, I know that. He says, oh, my God, you got all your documents and everything. He says, why did they bring you here? I said, Bill, I said, I don't get it. I said, I think it's because they didn't get the guy they were looking for, so I was a scapegoat or something. I don't know what it was. I know it's just ridiculous. He goes, yeah. He said, unfortunately, he says, you're in the system, and now you have to go through the court process. And I said, well, isn't this just great? I don't get this. He says, what judge do you have? And I told him, he says, well, it doesn't matter which one. There's only two. And he says, and what they'll do is they will not release you on your recognizance. They will not just let you go. They'll be asking for a bond, and the minimum bond is $1,500. He said, you're looking at probably $1,500, maybe $2,000 tops. I said, bond for what? I said, what for? Why would they want bond for something that doesn't even? It's not even. This is illegal. He says, that's just the way it is. That's the system. You're in it now, and this is what they'll do. They'll give you bond, and you'll be able to get out, but you'll have to come back for the court. And I'm like, he said, because I can't represent you because you're not a U.S. citizen or you're not a permanent resident. If you're a U.S. citizen or a permanent resident, I could do this for you, but you can't. I can't by legal. I just can't do it. I'm only here to basically let you know what your rights are and what you can expect, and this is what I'm saying. I said, oh my God, this is crazy. He goes, I know. I know. This is just one of these ones that I just can't wrap my head around it either. He said, but this is what you're up against. I know that much. And I said, oh my God. So anyways, I went to court, and keep in mind, folks, he says $1,500 to $2,000 tops. I'm going, I don't have the work permit yet, so I can't even work. I'm waiting to get everything all done, and they got in the way of all this. So now I'm in detention in an immigration detention center in Raymondville, which is the largest one in the country, not just Texas, but the largest one in the country. And it was only like 3 or 4 years old at the time. So anyway, and they house women, kids, and men, but they're all in different quarters, of course. And so anyways, here I am, and I'm going to court. So I'll fast forward, and I go to court like the next week or whatever. And anyways, he tells me first, Bill, the lawyer says, first he says, you'll need to just ask for bond. You just ask for bond, and they'll give it to you. I said, okay. So I was prepared that that's what I have to do because he was coaching me, and I didn't know any different. So anyways, I get there, and I'm called up or whatever, and the judge, he says to me something to the effect of, he says, well, before we get into the hearing, he says, we're going to put your bond at $34,000. And of course it was crackling up. There's like a speaker system. They're talking through mics and like that. And I said, pardon me. I said, I don't know if I heard you right. I thought I heard it, but I wasn't sure because it was crackling. Anyways, there was two gentlemen that was from my same dorm that were going to court too that day. One was he was I don't know, he was white, but he wasn't like from Canada, of course, right? But I don't know, I can't remember where he's from. But anyways, he spoke English. And there was a black gentleman. He was younger, and he spoke English. Anyways, when they finally told me, they repeat it. They said $34,000. I'm not kidding you. I almost thought I was going to fall over. And anyways, I said, I'm sorry. Did I hear you correctly? I don't know what you said because it was twice. And the guy says to the prosecutor, I guess that's what you want to call him, the government official. He says, did you hear what I said? And he said, yes, I did. And he said the amount. And I said, oh, okay. I said I couldn't hear it because it was crackling. But, folks, you know what? That prosecutor, he knew before he even got into that courtroom how much the bond was because he's the one that posts it. He's the one that makes it. And that I do know. That I do know. So, therefore, they were just doing this just to make me look bad. And, anyways, the guys behind me, I looked around when I actually heard it. And the one guy, the white guy, he was kind of white to me. Anyways, he looked at me and he goes like, like, WTF? Like, what the? Like this white? And I go, and I shrug my shoulder. He couldn't believe it. Neither could the black guy beside him. Going, what? Like their eyes were all squinched up in their faces. And I said, I shrugged my shoulders and I turned around, like this, right? And I thought, well, good, they heard it, because I wanted them to hear this to be a witness. Because, folks, what I found out was bond hearings are not recorded. The trials are what they are, but bond hearings are not. So therefore, I wanted to have a witness to hear this, because this is God through me, folks. This is not me. Believe me, I'm not that intelligent. I mean, God through me. So I took this, and not that I'm a dummy. I'm just saying that without God we are dumb, really. So, anyways, these guys, I was making sure that they were on notice, that they actually heard this, because I was going to actually later on get their statement. Because I knew that these weren't recorded, these bond hearings. I thought, I'm going to have a witness, because I don't even believe this. So, anyways, so what happened was they got in the way of what I was going to do. I was going to ask for this bond. I was going to say, I don't believe I should be here anyway. But I've been basically coached into $1,500 will be a bond, or $2,000. So what happened was I disputed it right there. I said, what? I said, for what? Like this, right? And he goes, well, he says, what we'll do is we'll get to that later. He says, we'll get to that later, and I'm thinking, you got that right, we are. And so, anyways, so then he decided to go on and do the I forget what they call it now for some reason, but it's like part of the trial to see whether you have a case or whatever have you. Anyways, he says to me, so I thought to myself, oh my God, I don't know what I'm in for now. Well, they kind of threw me for a loop, folks. I mean, I didn't expect the judge to actually talk about the bond before I was going to ask for bond. I didn't realize that, but I was just gonna, it just freaked me out. So it kind of startled me, of course, which it would anybody not expecting it. And when he went on and talked about this, so I had to sit down. I had to go sit down. Then they come up and they get you back again to go over your case and whatever have you. So, anyways, I said to him when I got back up there, I said, oh, here's what he said. He goes, and before we go on the record, he says, and while we're on the record, he says, we will not be discussing your bond. And I said, pardon? He goes, we will not be discussing your bond. And of course, I have all this audio, folks. Okay, I have all this on audio that I have with me now. All my court audios to prove everything I'm saying, like I said at the beginning of the show. So anyways, I thought, okay, he's not going to let me even talk about the bond. Isn't this great? First he said I can, now he says I can't. So anyways, so he talks about this, and anyways, so I thought, oh my gosh, what am I going to do now? Bill didn't prepare me for this part. Anyways, so what happened was he said, what I will say though is, are you prepared to talk about your case right now? But I don't want to talk about bond. I'm thinking, well, this makes no sense. They want to give me bond, which means I have to come back later anyway. I know that much. So to me, it all sounded contradictory. I didn't understand. I was totally getting thrown off here. And he said, well, you have, if you want, what you can do is, he said, I can lower. And then he says after, he goes, okay, off the record. He said, off the record. First, they make a court date with me, and it's like I don't know, 6 weeks later, I think it is, or whatever. Yeah, pretty much 6 weeks later, and so they make another court date. And then he says, well, now that you have a court date, he says, if you want, he says, you have to post bond. He says, but if you want, I can lower the bond. He said, what you need to do is get yourself a lawyer. Okay? He said, get yourself a lawyer. And he says, and within 3 days of your lawyer writing to me, in person, writing to me, I can have that before the court, so you don't have to come back 6 weeks from the other court date. And he says, and we will lower your bond. And I thought to myself, you buggers. What, 34,000? What, down to 31,000? I mean, I can't afford 10 cents, let alone $34,000. And for what? What am I? Some kind of? I'm not even a criminal. I'm not even give me a break. So I'm thinking, you know what? I'm thinking to myself, oh, I know why. This is just my own. I could be wrong on this, but I'm thinking, oh, you know what? I'm from a rich country, Canada. Yeah, so I guess that's how they go on it. Because I've seen folks that have been in there that have gotten no bond for coming back for asylums and stuff like this. They got no bond, $700, $1,000, $2,000, and these are people that swum across or came here illegally and have been caught doing something that wasn't right. And here they're getting no bond, $700, $2,000. I'm going, where the heck did they come up with $34,000? I thought the only way I can think of is I'm from a rich country, and they know I don't have a job because I'm doing everything right. I got all my paperwork. and therefore where am I going to come up with any money? Like, where am I going to? So they have to make it really tough for me to get out of here. And I'm thinking, no, that's just what I think. I could be wrong, but I'm just, it's a guess, but I don't think I'm far off, to be honest with you. But anyway, so I'm talking to this guy, and I said, well, okay, like this, right? And because they had me on my heels, I didn't know what to expect next, even. And I was frustrated, I was pissed off, but I wasn't showing it too much. I was playing a poker face. And anyways, so what happened was I got out of there and I contacted Bill. I said, well, I get back and talk with him in one of those little cubicles. You have to make an appointment to see him. And anyways, I'm talking to him and I said, they give me $34,000 bond. And he goes, for what? I said, I don't understand either. This is just getting worse. They're making it impossible for me to get out of here. He says, well, this is crazy. I said, well, you told me it was going to be $1,500 to $2,000, which I don't know how I would come up with that anyway either, because I don't have people that I know here that had the money, and it's in the middle of the recession even then, and even people in Canada, they couldn't come up with that kind of money, and I wasn't as connected now or then as I am now too to knowing people here. I didn't even have any visitation when I was in there. Because it was too far away for people and whatever have you, and I didn't know a whole lot of people at the time anyway here. So I was pretty much left on my own, and for the most part, I had some people I was talking to, but they were from Canada for the most part. So, so anyways, it was just ridiculous, and I even called my consulate while I was in there, and the consulate said, he's another one I'm going to have to be getting someone to chat with, let's put it that way. He said, his name is David Martinez, he said, well, I have to ask you, are you healthy? And I said, am I healthy? I'm inside a detention center where I'm not supposed to be. I'm not healthy. I'm very sick, actually. I was very sick, folks, because of all the stuff that's going on there. People spitting on the floor, snorting out of their nose. You wouldn't believe it. It's just unbelievable, the stuff that goes on there. And, of course, all the germs are going around. Not to mention I'm a little stressed and whatever through the whole situation. It's just ridiculous. There's times in the detention centers, I was in 2 of them. Just to let you know, I almost died 3 times while I was in the detention center the first time I was in there because of malpractice, them not taking me on. And that's a whole new different story, but I almost died, folks. Literally, I had 4 things, that happened to me all at the same time without any relief of any one of them. And I was not able to go to get from the doctors until 3 weeks into it, almost 3 weeks into it. I had what they call double pneumonia and bronchitis. And I could not have a bowel movement for weeks. It was ridiculous. It was all just crazy. I had a broken thumb that occurred when I was in there. I had a rash from my neck down to my feet, all at the same time. I didn't exhaust one of them and then have something else. No, this was all at the same time. It just kept getting worse and worse and worse. And I thought I was dying. I was on the ground. I was literally on the floor because I was fainting. I felt like I was going to faint. I was whiter than a ghost. It was just unbelievable, the stuff that I went through. So, it's no picnic, and I'm going through this again. I'm going through this crap in this other thing. I'm going, okay, what are they doing? The first time they messed up and they admitted it, and they let me go and everything. I was not deported and everything was fine. And then they're doing the same thing over and over again. I'm thinking, okay, who's doing their homework here? Who's checking this out? Then you hear nowadays how they vet people and they just let people through. I don't get it. I just can't get it. So I'll move on here, though.
Well, Glenn, let me do this real quick. This is a great time. Let me take a short break real quick so you can catch your breath, and so we can kind of let everybody know. Once again, you're listening to News and Commentary with Dan Butcher and Glenn Atkinson. Glenn is sharing this. To call this an amazing story is not doing it justice. It's an injustice as to what Glenn has had to go through. But we're going to take a short break, and when we come back, Glenn's going to continue with his story, letting us, filling us in on what happened while he was incarcerated, and then what has happened to him since, bringing us up to date, what has happened since then, and what he continues to go through. Folks, if you'd like to join in the discussion, I actually have a couple of lines open. It's area code 516-666-9908. Once again, it's area code 516-666-9908. We'll be back in about 1 minute.
Times are dark. The people misled by corrupt politicians, lied to by establishment media, and deceived by the false messages of Islam. A nation in confusion needs a guide. It needs a man with a cane. I'm Dave Milner. Join me on Spreaker, SHR Media, High Plains Talk Radio, Live Rebooting Liberty, and YouTube for a unique brand of commentary on the Unpleasant Blind Guide. Because truth is not always pleasant.
The Jersey Takeover is upon us. That's right, every Monday through Friday, noon to 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, you can catch Reaver of Common Sense show hosted by Jersey Joe right here on shrmedia.com and highplainsnews.com.
Well, I'd like to welcome everybody back to News and Commentary with Dan Butcher and, of course, Glenn Atkinson. Oh, Glenn, your story is absolutely generating a lot of buzz tonight. I know a lot of our listeners have heard it before and maybe read about it, but they're hearing certainly some different takes and learning some new things tonight that they may not have heard before. Once again, just to let everybody know, everybody's going, hey, Dan, it's 8:05. You're still on the air. Well, we made the decision to go ahead and extend the show a little bit tonight because I've been promising Glenn that we were going to get his story out, and I want to make sure that he has plenty of time. We've got another 25 minutes, so that should be plenty of time for Glenn to get everything that he wants to say in. I wanted to make sure he has this opportunity because this is some very important information that everybody needs to know about, that needs to know what is happening. This is, once again, I stress this. This didn't happen in Cuba. It didn't happen in the Middle East. This happened to Glenn here in the United States of America, a man that was coming to our country. He had a big dream. He wants to be an entrepreneur. He has some ideas to create jobs for Americans. He's wanting to pursue the American dream, and he comes to this country legally, and instead of being able to follow the American dream, he gets thrown in the slammer through no fault of his own. There's no other way to put it, folks. This is an injustice that needs to be righted. And hopefully by, having Glenn tell his story tonight with our great audience that we have, we're very fortunate to have a very large and influential audience. So hopefully we can help Glenn to right this injustice. Glenn, man, why don't you continue with your story?
Okay, well, thank you, and I'll speed it up a little bit. There's just so much more I couldn't. I mean, it's just unbelievable.
Exactly.
But
and just let everybody know. Yeah, and just let everybody know. We will, if there's a lot of stuff that we don't, since Glenn is actually co-hosting the show now, we'll have plenty of opportunities to discuss other elements of this story on future shows as well. But tonight we really want to get down to the nitty-gritty, to the root of all of this, so that everybody knows what you went through.
Right. Exactly. Well, and when I was talking with Bill about the $34,000, he just couldn't understand that. He's a lawyer, and there's nothing he could really do. I mean, his hands were tied because of the legal system itself, also like mine was. But anyways, what happened was I had to share that with you because it's so ridiculous. But what happened was I was there totally 90 days, from March 10th till June 8th of 2010. That's actually 90 days because there's a couple of 31-day months in there. So anyways, through this process, I also knew that there was they had a thing going on there where you can actually work inside the detention center as a detainee, and you get paid for that. And I thought to myself, wait a minute. I thought to myself, wait a minute. This is just what? I couldn't believe what I was seeing, and people were telling me, they said, oh yeah, you get paid $1 a day. And I said, $1 a day? Really? I said, wow. And they say, oh, well, you can use it for a commissary. And I'm thinking to myself, oh my God, wait a minute. The very first time I come across this border, the very first time, the north border, I was told that, you can't work here without a work permit. At any circumstance, if you do not have any work permit, legal work permit, then you will be deported. Eventually, if they catch you, you'll be deported and whatnot. So of course I know that. That's why I came here originally. With just I came here compelled by God, and I was here, like Dan mentioned, as an entrepreneur. I wanted to do everything right, and then I could get my businesses going and everything like that. So this is, I was doing everything right. So I didn't really concern myself with working without a work permit. That was never in my plans and never would it be. So anyways, because I believe in following the law, even though it's not entirely, that part of the law is right, but, even though they don't enforce it only to people who they pan pick. Anyhow, so what happened is I thought to myself, wait a minute, I'm still in America here. This is a detention center, immigration, inside America, and they're saying you can work for $1 a day. And I'm thinking, wait a minute, we're all here and we're all subject to be deported for whatever reason, and yet they're going to allow us to work in here. And I'm thinking two things here, folks. Here, more than two, but really two big ones. First of all, without a work permit, how is that legal? And I'm hearing all these things they say, if you don't have any kind of employer e-verifying you, whatever, or finding out whether you got your documents or not, then they're not allowed to hire you. So I'm thinking, well, guess who's my employer, folks? The government. I'm a government employee. If they're going to pay me $1 a day, that means I'm a government employee now because they're the government paying me. This is crazy. So anyways, I thought, but here's what really, really pissed me off the most of all this. We're in the middle of a recession, and even if this country was flourishing, there's people out there that have I'll give you a scenario. A man and his wife have 2 kids, and they're without jobs because Obama's regulations and whatever else have you that have them without a job, and yet we are here in this detention center of the biggest one in the whole country, and they're saying we're allowed to work, and they're going to pay us $1 a day. And I'm thinking, why would they pay us $1 a day when it's illegal? First, but the most important thing is why aren't they getting people that are without jobs to do the stuff in there? Okay, well, I don't get this, folks. These people are without a job and they got the mouths to feed. They got shoes to put on the kids' feet to go to school or whatever have you. And yet they want to pay us $1 a day? Well, you know what? It's profit margin. It puts more cash, it keeps more cash in their wallets, but yet they're getting it from you anyway to pay for us to be there for, $250 whatever dollars to up to $500 a day to be in there, and you guys are paying for that. And don't let them fool you into think you're not, because you are. And so therefore, I'm the one that they're going to pay $1 a day. So you know what I did, folks? I thought, you know what? Is this entrapment? Is this what they're doing? Is they're going to try and get us to work, and then they say now we are deportable? Because you would be legally. But it's them. Their own corruption is doing this. So I'm thinking, okay, I'm thinking, well, they're not deporting all of us, whatever this. We have a court case. But I thought, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to sign up for this because I need a paper trail. Because what I was watching was everyone that goes out of that detention center, out of that dorm, I should say, go to work. They have to be written. They have to write down where that detainee went, and whatever when they come, when they go. They have to be allotted for wherever they are. So I thought I'm going to leave a paper trail. So I did that, and I went on there, and I worked 8 days. This is near the end of everything. I wanted to do this because I wanted to basically have this clout against them, how it's contradictive. So I did. I went and I worked for 8 days, and I refused to get the pay. They come and they give you cash. It's $1 a day cash, and at the end of a week or whatever have you, or something, or 2 weeks, whenever they pay you, they give you cash in with this. And so they came and they were going to give me cash, and I said, I don't want that. They said, well, you signed that you were working. I said, I was just working really because I only wanted to just, have some, just to get away from the dorm and just do whatever, right? I said, because I refused to take the cash. I'm not getting entrapped. I'm not gonna take money for doing something. I don't mind volunteering like I've been doing for the whole time I've been here, whether it be on radio or whether it be helping other people, or I've even helped people get jobs. I can't even have them myself, but God knows I've helped a lot of people get jobs in this country, and that's fine. So anyways, so the thing is I want to leave a paper trail that they have written down that I went to work. Okay, well, at the end of my stay, if you will, I'll jump forward just for that part. They actually gave with all the stuff that I was wearing and my sleep pants, folks, remember? And they had to give that back to me with all my personal belongings. And inside there, they put in an envelope this $8. So they forced me to have it. They just said, no, you have to take all of this. This is your belongings. So I did take it, folks. But the thing is I had no choice. They had it sealed, the thing. They said, here you go, take this, and then they take you in a wagon and they drop you out in the middle of nowhere, and you got a phone for your ride. That's how it works, folks. Anyway, but before I got released, an interesting thing happened. I actually went on a hunger strike, folks. I went on a hunger strike to be released because I realized, I may never get out of here, because I went to courts many times. And I had to keep kicking the can down the road as far as court dates go, because I couldn't get a lawyer. Lawyers would not take my case, even though they even admitted that it was wrong. Even over the phone, they'd say, oh, my God, this is crazy. But they all want money, folks. This is what I learned.
Right.
And, of course, I know this a lot, but even more so, even when they were saying, oh, my God, this is crazy, even the secretaries, all the lawyers. I had I don't know how many lawyers. And as soon as they find out you have no money, they either hang up literally on you, or they say, call me back when you have money. And I'm like, how am I supposed to have – I don't have money. I don't have anybody. Well, we can't help you unless you have some kind of deposit of like $3,000. And I'm going, $3,000, $34,000, might as well be $1 million. I haven't got it. No, neither does anybody else. I wasn't connected as I am now. And even now it'd be probably difficult for people to come up with any kind of money. And I wasn't here to take money from people anyway, folks. I was trying to do the right thing. I didn't want to have to bring anybody else involved, but – it's really amazing that I came here to help America, and it turns out that I needed America to help me so I can help them. I mean, that's just kind of bizarre. So what happened was I thought, what, I'm not getting out of here because I don't have money to get out of here, and there's just no way. So what I did was I said, God, one night before I went to sleep at 10 o'clock, lights go out, I said, God, you know what I'm about to do or what I want to do, and, actually it was earlier in the evening. I said, early in the evening. I said, in my sleep or before I go to sleep or before I wake up or whatever, I'm about to do something, and you know what it is, and if it's wrong for me to do this, please show me an obvious sign. I mean, an obvious sign, just something that I don't have to think, oh, is that from God or is that just the devil trying to trick me, or I need something obvious. And anyways, I went to sleep. I woke up, game on. I was going to do a hunger strike. And the reason why I did a hunger strike was because I wanted to draw attention to these people that I was not illegal. I knew it. I wasn't illegal, and other people have told me that, which was reassuring. So anyways, I woke up, and every time they asked you to go to your meal, breakfast, lunch, and dinner, they can't refuse you, folks. They can't refuse you to have dinner, even if you're in the hole, so to speak. They got to give you a meal anyway. But you are allowed to refuse them with a reason, and my reason was hunger strike. So I told the gentleman, the officer, I said, I'm going on a hunger strike. And I was very, very stern with that. And he said, okay. And I said, make sure you write that down, because that's what they have to do. But I was making sure, because I know his supervisor's going to see it, and I know after a while it's going to get around. I know that because I know that of the system. So breakfast, he wrote it down, and lunch, he wrote it down, and I made sure of that, and dates it and all. So I'm leaving a paper trail, folks, is what I'm doing. And then the supper shift, another person comes in, it's 12-hour shifts there. Another guy, he wrote it down, so then we're in day 2. Then we're into day 3. So I kept doing this, okay? Well, what happened was they finally caught wind of this. After every day I've kept doing this. See, the reason why I did this, folks, was 2 reasons, to draw attention to them. But here's another thing. It's like I wanted to cut off their cash cow. This is what I did. Because I knew that building only runs with your money, folks. And so what happens is if I'm sick, if I get sick, because I have a hunger strike, you can get a fever, you get sick, and then you get a fever. Well, that fever you have, it could spread. And if it spreads around the whole dorm or whatever, because I'm going not just in the dorm, but I'm going all over. Library, I was in the law library every day doing help for other people in there to help them get out. And it wasn't just a thing about myself. I was helping people left, right, and center. They thought I was a lawyer, a plant. Some people, even officers, thought this he knows too much. What's going on here? He's got to be a lawyer. He's got to be what's he doing here? Because I was helping people get out with their bonds and the whole bit, and translating for people and this and that. And it was just unbelievable. So, anyway, I even got people to go to church there. It's just amazing. So, anyways, God was working through me all left, right, and center, and up and down, all around. Believe me. So, what happened was I knew that if I was to put that kind of threat there, and I was serious, folks. This wasn't just a joke. I was trying to get out of there with any way possible, and so I just went on a hunger strike, and I knew if I was to get sick and get a fever or whatever have you, that could spread throughout the whole, not just the dorm, but everywhere, because I'm going everywhere. I'm all over the place. So, and I knew they knew this because people have gotten sick, and then there's been quarantines, if you will. That's what they call it, a quarantine, before for different reasons that happens. So I thought, this is what I'm going to do, and that's what I did. And what happened was I had the whole building in an uproar. I mean, I would say whole building, it's a whole bunch of buildings, but I had them all over the place. I went to the law library that last day, I remember, and I got called back. The officer that does the law library said, Glenn, you're asked to go back to the dorm. And I said, what for? And he says, they got to talk to you. I said, okay. And I thought, oh, game on, right on. So I had my poker face, and I thought, yes, it started. And so anyways, I get there, and this guy this other worker that's on the phone, he's on the phone, he's talking, and I can hear him. And anyways, I let one person know in there, no, two people, that I could trust that what I was doing. There was two people in there I could trust. And another guy actually, his name's Sonny. I have to do with him even out now, talking with him and whatever have you. He's in America, and he didn't believe me. He didn't believe in me either. What I was doing, he thought, "Oh my God, you're crazy." I didn't learn this till after, but he actually thought I was losing my mind. So, anyways, another guy told me. He said, "Oh my God, you've got everybody going in here." I said, "What do you mean?" And he says, "Oh, unbelievable! Listen to that guy. And listen to the guy talking now, the officer." And I was overhearing. They were like talking about me and whatever have you. And he was trying to be quiet, but I was close enough to hear it. And I said, "Good, looks good on them." Like this, right? So anyways, in comes ICE. A guy from ICE comes in. And he says, actually, as the guy got off the phone, he they talked for a minute, and then he says, "Can you come with me?" I said, "Sure, no problem." Like this, right? And of course, I'm not intimidated. I already know what's going on here. So anyways, he says, so he was nice to me, very nice guy actually, and he said, "So I hear you're on a hunger strike." I said, "Yeah." He says, "How come?" I said, "Because I'm not supposed to be in here, and I have all the documents here to prove it to you. I got about 2 inches of thick of stuff here that I can prove it, and only one paper. That's all I need to do is show one paper, and you'll see it." And he said, "Well, I'm going to take you to the captain, or not the captain, the chief. The chief, that's who it was. And that wasn't ICE though. That was actually there was ICE and there's two. Like I said, there's two. There's the captain, and then that's of the whole what do you call it? The officers that are hired by ICE, and then there was another ICE officer with her. Anyway, so I was talking with both of them, and they were asking me what I was doing, and I already got to know them because I was helping them out with some stuff that was in there too. Believe it or not, folks, I know this is crazy, but I was even helping them out with stuff that was going on in there that I saw that wasn't right, and it was for their protection. This was like a few weeks before. So I was even helping them out, ICE and the other ones. I was drawing things to their attention that wasn't right, that could put them at risk and America at risk on the outside, things that I was hearing, seeing, contradictions. I got everything documented too, and I even have officers' signatures that they acknowledged what I'd said and didn't do nothing about it, folks. Believe me, it's just crazy. So anyways, So I talked to them and I said, I'm on a hunger strike because I'm not supposed to be here. And anyway, so what happened was, while I was talking with them, the head of ICE, the head of the whole building, okay, the top, called me down, and I was talking with her, and her name's Melissa. And she said that I overheard her talking, actually, as she got me to sit in front of her, and it's wide open there, folks. It's where they do the processing to get you in and out of there. And anyways, another officer, of her friend, whatever, worker of hers, I overheard her and the other woman talk, and she says, "Isn't this just great?" This is the head folks. She says, "Isn't this just great? My first day back after 6 months, and I have to put up with this. You know what?" And I thought, good, because you know what, you need to work, because believe me, you know, I'm the one inconvenienced here for 90 days, or at that time it was 89. So anyway, so what happened was, so she comes over to me, and I thought, oh, you know, here we are. So she says, so she's really trying to be intimidating, and she goes, you know, oh, by the way, folks, I forgot to tell you, I had two people. I had a friend of mine and my mother, 2 different provinces in Canada, call. I told them while I was on the hunger strike that last day, my mom was worried sick over me, and my mom has later actually had passed away. But anyhow, at the time I told my mom not to worry about nothing. I'm on a hunger strike, and for you, I said, Mom, please call the building and let them know I'm on a hunger strike. And I told my friend, I said, you call and let them know that I'm on a hunger strike. That way I'm working from the inside, and I want you guys to work from the outside, and that way everybody's going to know. I said, you know, and I tried to get them to go in newspapers, but or even radio stations or play up in Canada, but they were too nervous, too afraid. Like I said, I wasn't connected like I would be now. I would have had the media down there in no time if it was now, because I'm better connected, and I am part of the media now. But anyway.
Exactly.
So anyway, so what happened was they did that, and anyways, this Melissa, she says, you realize, she's the head of ICE there, and by the way, folks, she was only filling in for the actual the guy that was really in charge. He was on a way in Utah for assignment upgrading, I guess, or whatever have you. So what happened was she said, you got your mom and your sister really upset, and I'm thinking, my sister? So my friend actually posed as my sister, I guess. I don't know.
Oh, man.
So anyways, I just went with it. I'm going, in my head, I'm going, my sister? What? My sister didn't call like this, right? So anyways, you got them all really upset, and she goes, and you know, do you care? And I said, well, yeah, I care, like this. I said, but do you care that I'm in here and I'm not supposed to be? And she goes, well, you're wrong. And I said, no, I'm not. And she goes, well, you are. And I said, because she already introduced me to herself, and she was calling me Glenn, so I called her Melissa. You know, we're not supposed to call each other by the first name, but hey, if you want to be on a first name basis, no problem. So I called her Melissa, and she says, well, she goes, you are. And I said, I'm telling you right now. And she goes, well, I need you need to start eating. I said, well, I'll start eating when I'm out of here and back in Corpus Christi. And she goes, Glenn, you're illegal. You're in here for good reason. I said, Melissa, I've got things and I brought my folder with me. I said, I got things in here to show you. And anyways, she realized I was not budging because I was very firm. And she says, what are you? So I seen her, and I'm good at body language because I have a lot of years psychology behind me, and I'm good at reading body language with everything and that. But see, I got that advantage where they don't know I have that advantage over them. So anyways, and that's God for you, by the way, folks. It isn't just me. It's God really having me tunnel vision on these people. So anyways, I said to her, anyways, when I said I have stuff here to prove this, anyways, I seen her shoulder drop. She goes, okay, what have you got? I remember this like it was yesterday, exact word. And she goes, okay, what have you got? And I showed her, I said, and I took off the top paper, and I said, here, this was sent to me from Canada. And I said, it's off the internet. And I said, I come here March 10th. Look at the bottom right-hand corner. What does that say? And she goes, 04/20/10. I said, yes, that's April 20th, 2010. I said, that is after March on my calendar. It's the month after. And I said, what does that say up there? She goes, pending your change of status. I said, thank you very much. And that little bullet there, it's all blackened out, and it says, thank you. And she went, oh. She goes, well, here it says this. I said, I don't give a crap what it says there, Melissa. What it says right here is the truth. And it said, and you're going to figure it out. I said, because I'm out of here. Like this, right? She goes, so then she changed her tone. She said, well, if everything checks out okay, I'll have to go back to my office and make a few phone calls. And she goes, and everything checks out, you'll be out of here just like that. And she snapped her fingers. I said, you got that right, I will be. And she goes, but you do have to go to court tomorrow. I said, that's no problem. That's no problem.
Right.
Because I wanted to have this on the record, folks. So I have no problem sleeping the night very, very peacefully. I have no problem with that. Because I knew I was right. And I wasn't being cocky. I was just saying, you know, I'm firm. I have to do this. So I do want a paper trail. This is what I've been doing when I was in there for other people, let alone myself, giving them paper trails to prove their case right. Because not everybody in there, folks, is illegal. Trust me.
Right.
If I'm not the only one, And like I said, and I don't think that there could be some cases worse than mine. God forbid, please. But, there could be. I might be the one that's bringing them out of the woodwork when they finally hear my story. Maybe they won't be too afraid to come out and say it. If that's the case, then glory to God for that, because exposure is what we need to do. So anyways, what happened was...
Glenn, let's do this, because we are at the hour and a half point right now, buddy. So let's do this, man. I want to continue this conversation on Thursday, okay?
Okay.
And we'll pick up right from here. We'll plan on continuing this conversation the first half of Thursday's show, and then in the second half, I want to get everybody up to date on Thursday. Because now we're to where you're getting out to where you are today. And what you're continuing to go through. And that'll lead into a discussion on Thursday for the second half of the show about what we need to do as far as, and this will be a topic that you and I'll have a discussion on over several shows, but we'll just kind of eat away at it. But what needs to be done as far as immigration reform in this country? Because your story is a prime example of somebody trying to do it right, once again, where everything went absolutely wrong. And so, folks, so we're going to turn this into a continuing conversation probably for the rest of this week, because there's so much information and stuff to discuss here. Because once again, like I was telling Glenn at the very beginning of the show, immigration reform and terrorism are going to be the top two issues heading into the 2016 presidential election. But immigration reform is being completely ignored right now, and these two go hand in hand, and we'll get into those discussions on Thursday and Friday. But Glenn, my friend, I don't know what what to say from here, but to be continued on Thursday, buddy.
For sure, no problem. I totally get that, and it'll be a blessing to get the rest of it out too. Thank you very much.
You bet. Well, folks, once again, this is. I knew when we started this conversation tonight that it would go long past the 1 hour mark, and it would probably go into another show, maybe two shows, and that's what it's looking at. But once again, I made this promise to Glenn that we're going to discuss this story, because this is not just happening to Glenn. This is happening to other people as well, and this is a different side of the story that you're hearing when it comes to immigration in our country. Well, folks, once again, you've been listening to News and Commentary with Dan Butcher and Glenn Atkinson on HighPlainsDailyNews.com, on our radio show page, as well as SHRmedia.com and Spreaker.com. We will be back with you again, same time, same place, on Thursday night. Not Wednesday night, but on Thursday night. Good night, everyone, and God bless.
Texas, now's the time to save during the holiday sales event at your Texas Ford dealer.
Right now, I'm gonna take it. Right now.
Now through year's end, we're counting down the days, and you can count on a great deal. Grab hold of your new Ford, America's best-selling brand with huge holiday savings. Big cash rebates, super low APR financing, and great low monthly payments. Hurry, the time to save, it's
right now
at your Best in Texas Ford dealer.